Welcome to Brush and Banter, the podcast where creativity meets real-life hustle.
Brought to you by Zibra, we go beyond perfect brushstrokes to explore the messy, magical, and meaningful side of being an artist.
I'm Bree Hansen, crafter at heart, creative cheerleader, and president of Zibra.
I'm Annie Bolding, muralist, designer, lover of all things that sparkle, and founder of It's a Disco Day Designs.
And I'm Lauren Cooper, muralist, designer, creative mama, and founder of Rosemont Lane Design Studio.
We're here to bring you conversations with working artists,
practical tips to grow your creative business,
and a built-in painting companion for your next project.
So grab your favorite Zebra brush,
pop in your headphones,
and let the banter begin.
Hey friends, welcome back to Brush and Banter. I'm Bree, and I'm joined with my co-host Lauren.
Hi everyone. Today's episode is one that I have been personally so excited about for the longest time now.
A few years ago, we reached out to today's guest for an Instagram audit of Zebra because we knew we wanted to grow, but we were so stuck. We had no idea where to start, what we were doing wrong. And today's guest not only kickstarted our strategy on social, but she left us with a strategy that was long lasting. And we actually still use her Reels Lab monthly that I'm sure she'll talk about. But she has grown since we talked to her last, her own business, built an incredibly supportive education platform, and helped thousands of creators stop guessing and start posting with intention. Dare I say, she helps you find the fun in posting on Instagram.
Officially, hi Shannon. Welcome to Brush and Banter.
Hi, thanks for having me. So excited to be here.
Okay, Shannon. So let's start here because I think a lot of creators feel overwhelmed before they even hit post. So when someone says, I want to grow on Instagram, what's the first thing you want them to understand how growth actually works?
Yeah, I think, well, one of the things I always tell people before, I always like to say messaging before anything. Like figure out your messaging, figure out why people want to buy from you, what makes them want to follow you, right? And a lot of it is, building a community and making sure that people feel like connected to you guys, especially with you guys, like a product, like products still have a personality, if you will, right? It's the people, it's the culture, et cetera. So the biggest thing I tell people before they even start is before you even try to start posting, like understand why you're showing up, who is going to want to follow you, and really get to know them. So I always think market research is the best thing to do before you even start posting so that you don't get frustrated.
Yeah.
And when it comes to growth, especially right now in 2026, the biggest shift we're seeing is just like, sure, aesthetics are still, I guess, part of Instagram's vibe, but it's really about belonging. So the more that, even if it's a product or a service or a personal brand, you want to make sure you feel like you're inviting people into this world of yours, if you will. Right. So it's beyond just content. I think everyone just thinks like, oh, what do I need to post? And what's going to get me to grow? When really it's like, what's going to make people feel like they belong? What's going to help them? What's going to make them feel connected to you? Start there rather than worrying about algorithm and things first, because that's where it gets tricky and you just start comparing and overthinking.
Yeah, that's so important.
And speaking of overthinking, I feel like obviously the hit word is always like viral, what's going to go viral?
Yeah.
So if you're going to pull that back, like, do you have a definition of a healthy and sustainable growth for some small creators where like, obviously we all want to go viral, but like, what kind of strategy do you have there to just have that good relationship with Instagram?
Even just setting your own personal goal, like if it is followers, but don't make it crazy, it like, some people might get 100 new followers a month. Some people might have a viral spike and then they get 10,000 off one reel. And that doesn't always happen. I just hope people know that that's not the norm. It happens. And actually a friend of mine, she just went from 50K to 100K in like a month. And it's crazy. She's like, oh my gosh, what just happened? I'm like, yeah, it happens sometimes. And then it will kind of slow down a bit and then ramp up again. So there's no real average, if you will, right? It just really depends on creating that content that's going to resonate and be shareable and keep people watching. So especially with people in the art world too, right? Retention is such a big thing right now. Like that's like, you can look at it, your insights. If you go to your reel or if you scroll all the way down in insights, it'll say retention. You can see how long people stuck around. And Instagram is really looking at that. So what's cool for a lot of people in the art space, I'm like, dude, retention's going to be awesome for you guys. Cause if you're creating something, we want to see the final result. So I would focus on, if you want to grow, focus on creating content that retention is high, watch time is high. It's going to get pushed out more and more and more. But I've had viral spikes and I've gained some followers, but I mean, it's more so, it's interesting. I feel like more of the content of mine that doesn't go crazy gets the most followers. Might talk to cameras that might not go crazy, but they'll get hundreds of new followers off one reel. And my viral ones, I'll get some, but it's not like, I don't know. It's interesting. I think people have got more picky with who they follow. Yeah. And a lot of times my viral content is like one of those silly trends and it's like funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't really lead to the follows. What really leads to the follows is if they feel connected to you. And that's usually talking to camera, carousels, introducing yourself, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is such good advice, because I feel like for us, it's been very up and down. And some weeks, our real views are just like, oh gosh. And we get a little down in the dumps, but you just have to, you have to keep going. You have to still show up and you have to still be consistent, as you always say, because I think you will have those times. And, there are certain things that you should do on Instagram to help it. But at the end of the day, something is going to take off that you didn't expect. And that's okay. But you're probably not going to be able to repeat that. You just have to keep connecting. And I think still staying true to you, what you said, because it's so unpredictable. But that's really good to know about the retention thing. I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Yeah, it's like one of their big new insights that they gave us. And it's takes up an entire part of the insight. So I'm like, ooh, this must be important. And then they came out saying that, retention's a really big deal. So, but it just comes down to watch time and watch time. I think a lot of people only assume watch time is reels, but watch time is also carousels. So if you have a carousel, you want to make sure they're going to the end. And again, you just got to make sure the content's interesting enough to keep watching or interesting enough to keep swiping. And if it is, it's going to do really, really well.
So when you're evaluating a reel that performs well, what do you think are the elements that usually matter the most? Is it the actual content of it? Is it the hook, the emotion of it? What do you think is if someone's kind of not knowing where to start, where do you think the biggest focus should be?
I think hooks. And because there are some reels that I'm like, this is so dumb. Why did this go viral? But it's because the hook is so good. Yeah. It's literally a 5-second video of someone pouring a cup of coffee, and just the hook on screen is so good. And so it went viral. Yeah. And it's the video's dumb. It's not, but I love it though, because it just shows that if you can write a really good hook, right, you can do really, really well on Instagram. And so I think the biggest thing, and I talk about it a lot, I call them just identifiers. People can call them, whatever you want. I don't know if there's a technical term for it, but it's adding in and infusing words into that hook that they recognize themselves. So I actually gave an example on my podcast episode, one that just came out today, of one that went viral. And it said, I forget exactly what it said, but it said something about money rules for me, my husband and I, as a married couple. So I'm like, okay, if someone's a married couple, they're probably going to go, ooh, I'm married. What's this about? And then when it says about money, they're like, ooh, I need to tighten my finances. Let me read it. Right. And it went totally crazy viral for her. And she's just talking to the camera and sitting at her coffee table. Right. But another thing I noticed is the visual hook. Right. So there's also that visual hook that she had, which was she had paints out. And it was really interesting. And it's the video was about money and as a married couple. Yet she had little paints out and she's sitting at her coffee table just talking. So it almost feels like you just interrupted her in her hobby, and she's talking to you. Oh, and that is a brilliant way to create a reel right now. I'm noticing is adding in something kind of analog, basic, something besides what you do. It's out, or even you guys would have brushes out and things. Right. It almost slows our brains down. We're ooh, what's she talking about? But it just feels authentic and we just caught her in the moment. Okay. So if your hooks have an identifier, I even came up with a formula I like to call the REP, which is something relatable, something expertise, and something personal. Okay. You don't have to include all three, but what that would look like for me, it's my favorite content creation tools, maybe from Amazon as a type B creator, something like
Okay. Oh, good example.
that. That's an example, right? So the relatable would be Amazon,
Right.
because they're going to see that word and go, oh, I recognize that. By relatable, I just mean recognizable, familiar, right? Something that they're like, oh, okay, I know what that is. Expert is me saying that as a creator. So they're like, okay, she's a creator. And then the personal is type B,
Yep.
right? But that's also they all kind of intertwine.
Right.
But that's not to get too technical, but the more you can add in something that they can attach to, the better, whether it's a brand name, a season of life they're in, right? Like empty nesters, millennial moms, right? Like saying something like that is going to make us stop, because we're selfish and we want to see content we want to see, right? Like I don't want to see content that I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
And the algorithm knows that. So if it knows you're a millennial mom in North Carolina, like I see so much North Carolina content because the algorithm knows I'm interested in where to go to eat, where to take my kids, right? So if I see anything with North Carolina, I'm going to stop and watch. If I see anything about home organization as a type B, I'm going to stop because I'm type B, right? So it's like anything. So if you can nail hooks like that sound personal and not so stuffy. And the example I've been giving a lot of people is, I love this one from a doctor. She was talking to the camera and she just goes, I fix bones for a living. So instead of saying she's a blah, blah, blah surgeon, which is like, we're bored, right? So it's like kind of dumb it down, but just, it's not even dumbing it down. It's just making it feel approachable.
And lighthearted. Yeah. I love that. Those are great examples.
Casting a wide net, I kind of feel like that was the vibe that I was getting online, is that we all hyper niched, and then now we actually can have a wider audience, which I think
so true
for a lot of our listeners, and myself included, being a muralist, we sometimes are like hyper focused on a very specific IC or like ideal client, and I don't even necessarily know that those are the people who are on Instagram, but maybe like their social media manager is, or maybe their network is, and then they're going to like push you out to people. And so I feel like sometimes it is actually a good idea to take a step back and have an opportunity to show to more, which sounds like that relatable side. And then speaking of relatable trends, so I feel like there's all this like be authentic. And then obviously there's an ideal opportunity for quick, easy content creation to hop on a trend. What's your thought on it? Do you feel like that is working right now? Tell us more.
I love trends. I just eat them up. And I'm chronically online on TikTok. So I see they usually start there, then they come to Instagram. So that's why I love helping people on Instagram with the trend, because by the time it gets there, I'm like, oh, I already see the ones that are going crazy. Let's do it for you. But again, that's where relatable, like you said. So one thing I love helping my clients do is basically creating a list, and you can use ChatGPT for this or Claude or whatever, coming up with relatable situations your people find themselves in. And then once you know those relatable situations, every time one of those funny trends comes along, you can go to your list and be like, oh, what would make sense for this trend? So like for me, I usually like going, like you said, I like going more to the masses, more of a wide net for the trends. So usually when there's a funny trend that's like either like an agitative or like an excited, whatever reaction, I always go back to the one about Irish exiting and getting Taco Bell. Like that's always one I do. I've done it like 3 times and every time it goes viral. I just repeat the same joke, just with a different trend. The other one I do is about like going to the grocery store, and as we're leaving, like my husband suggests going out for Mexican food. That goes viral every time too. But what I do is in the caption, I make sure the caption is where I show my expertise, where I'm like, okay, guys, this is the trend. Here's 10 ideas for you guys. So I still make it business as much as I can. But I wouldn't advise that for everyone, because that, since I teach Instagram, that makes sense to do something fun I want to do. And in the caption, I educate. So they know, oh, she helps us with content, so we'll follow her. You can literally ask ChatGPT. And what I do is I say, give me like 10 relatable situations where we get frustrated, and explain who you are and who your audience is. And then 10 situations that are joyful and happy and like euphoric, and then let ChatGPT tell you those. And sometimes they're going to be chat does not nail it every time. Right. There are probably 2 in there that are good. And I'm just saying, like, every time there's one of those trends, now you've got your idea and you're done. Like it's it's so funny. Every time I see any type of fun trend, you see kind of the same jokes just recycled,
Right.
but with someone's own spin on it. And I
Mhm.
love that. Even if like the muralists, if they're like hyper local, and I've told this to realtors too, since you're realtors, but like have some fun. Use those trends to make a joke about the area you live in. Maybe it's a joke about the traffic on whatever. Maybe it's a joke about how people in your community, what is it? So that could be fun, because you never know if it goes up to people local to you. They're like, oh my gosh, that's that person that did that mural down the street. I didn't even realize, right? So like that could be kind of fun. You guys would poke fun at stuff like that rather than the normal, mix it up.
All right, you know what time it is. Don't cry over spilled paint. This is the part of the show where we remind ourselves that behind every effortless post is at least one messy draft that never saw the light of day. So today's spilled paint stories are straight from the DMs, and we are going to read a couple from Odessa Helm Art. She says that she once had someone come up and throw 2 quarts of paint right on her concrete, which that sounds horrible. I hope that wasn't already on something she had painted. That sounds so bad. And then she also said that she dropped her AirPod in a gallon of paint, but miraculously it still works, which that's really surprising and also great.
Yeah, that was lucky. This one is a little bit scary. I had a man watch me paint 3 days in a row for 10 hours each day, and then police got involved.
Oh, gosh.
I know. Quick tip. If you're painting alone, don't tag your location or share where you're painting until after you've left.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep them coming. DM us at Zibra Painting or tag your story with hashtag spilled paint story. Your chaos might just help someone else feel a whole lot less alone.
When you're hopping on those trends and trying to show more of your personality, do you feel like you give advice to all of your clients to stay at a certain level of like PC though, and like keep still talking the right way to your ideal client? Like if we're thinking of working with these bigger businesses, I feel like some of the trends that people are hopping on maybe feels like a little vulgar, like the language is going to be different. Like, does that matter on the online space? Like, do our clients actually care about that? And should we lean into being silly gooses and being fun and funny? Or is there like a boundary?
That's a really good question. I think, okay, so one thing I like to show people all the time, if you go to TikTok, like there are lawyer accounts being hilarious.
Yeah,
and
I love those.
Like, people still hire them. Right. I'm like, people still hire them to manage their divorce. So like, obviously it's not hurting. But one thing now I curse like a sailor in person, but you will never hear me curse online because I have kids. So when I'm scrolling, I hate when all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, gosh, come on guys. Right. So I never have, if there's an audio with curse words, I won't use it because that's just not part of my brand. Like you just won't hear me doing that. So I think that's one way to just kind of stay true. So if there is something that you just feel like is kind of on the line, or like you work with brands that would probably frown upon that, but then you look at brands like Wendy's that are just completely unhinged and you're like, what? But I do think there is a fine line. It's just like what is authentic to you, I think more so. I mean, there's the Gary V's of the world in my world, and that just drop F-bombs all day. But I'm like, well, if there's another group that doesn't want that, I'm here. Yeah. And I love him, but it's just not me. So I think it's more important, like, is it true to you? Like, but there's also those trends that are more empathetic in storytelling and emotional. So like those are always good too, especially for people in the art maker type world too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I want to go back to when you said kind of touched on repurposing content, because that is something that we learned from you that we do, or we try to do a fair amount. So can you walk us through kind of your rules or no rules for that, and why you suggest to repurpose content and what that looks like?
Yeah. So probably back like 2 years ago when we did the audit, I probably would have said, oh, only repurpose every 3 to 6 months. Now I'm like, 2 weeks later, throw it up again. Maybe not 2 weeks, but like a month. Like, and here's what I love to do. I'll share it as a reel. If it does well in 2 weeks or so, you'll see it as a carousel. I just turn it into a carousel. And especially for you guys, especially people right now, like reuse your captions. I mean, people do not care. 2-3 years ago, we were following less people. We were on less apps. It was just different. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, that did well. Let's do it again next month. I also repurpose the same B-roll all the time. So that's really good for you guys. Like, let's say you're painting or you have some video of you painting, but just slap up different text on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think what it is we're just consuming so much. So no one's going to notice, but also no one has this expectation of fresh, brand new content every time. Right. They're like, it's okay. Right. Well, you can repeat yourself, right. But also repeating yourself is really good. But also marketing in general. And a lot of what I do, I'm just saying the same stuff over and over again in different ways. So one way I like to repurpose, like one of my favorite things that always seems to really click for people is when I talk about the me-centric hooks and how well those are doing. So less how to and more how I. 3 ways to, 3 ways I, right? It's more like making your hooks to you so people know they're learning from you. And I have this reel and it went pretty viral for me. I just said not to be dramatic, but adding I and my to your hooks can skyrocket your reach. And if you're not doing, the people not doing that are stuck, something like that. And then in the caption, I explained what that meant. It did really well. So a week ago, I did it again, but I just started it differently. Same thing. I just said, I think like, I wish more people knew or something like that. So same thing. Yeah. Oh, thank you. But it's funny because it's like, you just tweak it a little bit and just some stupid B-roll of me sitting here right in a different audio and it feels fresh to everyone. Yeah. And the same caption, did not change the caption whatsoever. So, but I will say, be careful with repurposing because if you do think about it, content does need to be relevant. So one thing I love to repurpose is my monthly hooks or like my post ideas for spring. It'll basically be what I did for fall, but then I twist it with a spring, like I add in spring words to these hooks. Right? So stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. So just seasonally think things like that. So even if there's something you guys shared in the spring that did well, how can you now do it again for January, February, things like that. Okay. So that's just like a little fun way to do it too.
No, that's a really good idea. Seasonally, that's makes so much sense. What about if you have, like, say you had a reel that you thought was going to do so well, you thought you nailed the hook, the content was great, and then you post it and it doesn't do well. You only get a couple thousand views or a couple hundred views. Would you suggest, okay, trying it again and reposting it with a different hook, maybe getting a little more specific in your text, or do you think too soon and it probably didn't work for one reason the first time, don't do it again?
Great question, because it really just depends. And that's where you go to your insights and see what happened. Okay. Where did they fall off? Where did they lose attention? And then I always think it's just good to have an Instagram buddy in your life that you can go, where did I miss the mark? And someone who will be honest, be like, oh, that didn't sound like you, or that hook just didn't really do it for me. I even had a carousel I posted the other day that I thought was going to do so much better. It didn't. So what I'm going to do is in a couple weeks, I'm going to share it again and I'm going to do a totally different hook. As much as it sucks when it happens, it's good because then you're like, okay, I know the content, I know the message was, I know people got something from it because there were enough people that commented that did. It's just the hook didn't speak to them like I wanted it to. And then, so what I'll do, and typically what I'll do, I'll look at all the comments that people did leave and see what language they said. I remember one time someone said, I'm just so discouraged with Instagram. And I wrote that down. And every time I share and say, if you're discouraged with Instagram, people love it. Cause I'm like, I'm using their words.
So smart.
So yeah. So, and like, I remember I used to say something like, I forget what I said, but like low reach. And then I switched it to 200 view jail and my hooks went crazy. And I was like, cause it was like, well, what are they calling low reach personally?
Right.
They're calling it 200 view jail.
Yeah.
So they're not saying, oh, my reach is low. Like no one's walking around, my reach is low, like except for the marketers.
Yeah. Right.
So you got to speak their language. And luckily you guys know your people's language. But it's a good thing to just look at your comments, look at your testimonials, look at competitors, quote unquote, look at what people are saying and just write down all those words. And usually I always tell everyone, it's literally 1 or 2 words, a tiny editing tweak. That's it.
Yep. Okay. That's good. And what about trial reels? Are those dead?
No, they're not. I'm actually getting more traction on trials than I used to. I think a lot of people gave up on them maybe. I don't know what's going on.
I feel like that was us. We gave up.
Yeah, a lot of people did. Well, I almost did too. I was like, this is ridiculous. So that what I just said, if you're discouraged on Instagram, that is every time I share that on trials, it goes bonkers. Like, and again, it's me standing at my coffee table at my kitchen. And I'm just going, if you feel discouraged with Instagram, you need to hit follow because, and I basically pitch myself. And that's what I find does really well in trial reels, because if you think about it, these people literally do not know you. So if you're standing there like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and it feels like a little mini ad where you're just kind of patting yourself on the back and telling them why to hit follow. The other ones that do well for me are just my talk to cameras. So I just think it's like what's working overall is just making them feel like they belong with you in your space.
And Kristen just pointed out, we probably should say what a trial reel is in case you don't know.
Oh yeah.
And not everyone has them because Instagram can be mean like that.
Oh, really?
I just got them and I just posted my first one yesterday.
Oh, yay.
Oh, that's exciting.
I think it's doing okay. In like an hour, it got over 1,000 views. So I was happy with that.
That's really good.
Well, it's just basically, so it's a feature where you can test a reel and not post it to your feed, and the Instagram will send it out to an algorithm based on audience, based on what they think is the content in the reel. Shannon probably would have explained that a lot better than me, but basically you can just test content and you don't have to push it to your feed unless it's doing well, and then you can push it to your followers, basically.
And honestly, I just keep my trials as trials. Not everyone does that. It's totally up to you. I just figure, why not have, almost like a 2 birds, 1 stone situation. Yeah. What's cool about it is it goes out to people who are not following you. So not everything's going to work on trials. And a lot of people get really frustrated, and I get it. Cause there was one of my viral reels I put on trials and it was crickets. And I'm like, this makes no sense. But probably because my community is so tight, and that's why it went viral. We got to think about it. Like, these people do not know who the heck you are. And they've already probably watched 100 reels today. So you got to really make sure it's very clear who you are, what you do. And again, like, have that symbolism in the reel of like pain, visual hooks, so that they know immediately. They're like, ooh, I'm into art. Let me watch this, type of thing.
Such good takeaways. Before we move on to stories, I have 2 things. One is you clarified reposting to repurposing, because I feel like in my head I always had it as like reposting old content, but no, it's repurposing, and you can literally take the idea, redo it. So good. And then I've been afraid to do the talk to camera reels. I can show up on stories, which we're about to talk about, but I get nervous, and so now I'm just going to try it on trials because that's not my audience, and so I'm not going to be afraid. I love this. This is so good.
Yes. I'm so excited for you. You have to keep me posted because it's so fun. And I'm glad you like showing up on stories, because I tell everyone that's how I got so comfortable on camera was stories. Because I would just talk about whatever on stories. I was like, I don't care who wants to listen or whatever. And then when reels came about, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So stories are so fun, but definitely for trials, I think talking to the camera is a good way to test it and just get more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes. We've been using Shannon's Reel Labs for like 2 years now. And every week there's a prompt in there for a talk to camera, and we have not done it once. So maybe 2026 should be our year that we actually try that.
We would try it real too. Let's do it together.
Yes.
We'll be accountability partners.
Yes. I love that. Okay. So let's talk about stories, because stories is not my friend, really. And I think some people are great at them. Some people, it intimidates them. So tell us how creators should think about stories differently than reels, and why they're important.
Stories, for me, in my opinion, I mean, I don't even know if I'd have a business without them. Like, that's how powerful they've been for my business, right? And a lot of people don't like them. But the cool thing is, that's why Instagram is my favorite, because there's so many different options. Like, oh, you don't want to do reels? Cool. Images still work. You don't want to do stories? Fine. Whatever. But stories are where people really, in my opinion, get to really bond with you and get to know you. So that's where they really feel like they're in your world.
Right.
I like to kind of compare it as like a reality show, kind of, in a way. It's almost like you never know what you're going to get. It's just like taking people through your day to day. But what I usually do, and I haven't even gotten on stories this morning, but I usually try to, like, first thing in the morning, once I'm like got my coffee and stuff, I'll just do a quick little check-in, kind of like, hello, happy whatever day it is. And I'll usually include some sort of poll to get, make sure, they can, again, it's inviting them in. It's like, hi, I want to get to know you. Let's hang out. And I think where people get intimidated is they say, their life is too boring. I'm like, I don't even barely leave my house during the week. Like,
that's my
so Yeah, I try to make it fun, and I'll like literally have like Today Show on in the background. I try to, again, a lot of the stuff I did on stories that worked was just by mistake. It just happened organically. And then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, people really like to know what's in my coffee. People really like to know what I'm watching and what that book is. And so kind of like to make your stories feel more interesting, make, add in your coffee, put your to-do list of what you're up to that day. Maybe do have the news on and be like, oh, who else is a Today Show junkie, whatever, right? We connect over those mundane things. And that's where I've really gotten to help my audience really trust me and not just know me as like someone who helps them with Instagram, but we become like friends because we just DM, and stories lead to DMs, which is, once people are in your DMs, they feel really connected to you. So what I do with stories, typically I like to start my day with just kind of like a quick check-in. And then the second one I use to just convert. I'm like, let me at least get one thing, whether it's, hey, I was on this podcast, take a listen. Hey, if you haven't grabbed my freebie, here's a link, things like that. Mm-hmm. Just to make sure my stories are reminding them like, I also have these things if you want them.
No,
and then
you
the
do
rest
a great
of the day,
job with that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, because it's like one of those things, if I don't do it, I won't do it.
Right.
So, or if I don't think to do it, I won't do it. So it's like, as soon as I share my good morning, I do something that's like here. Because, and also if you think about it, you're getting DMs that you're missing where people are probably going, hey, where can I find that brush? Hey, where can I, it's like, give it to them. I think we feel so gross selling, but at the end of the day, you are serving. You're like, hey, we just had someone ask about this. Here it is as a reminder. Here's the link to it. Go buy it. And then the rest of the stories are just me throughout the day, like me and my daughters. Something that might have come up here on the podcast. I'm like, ooh, I want to share this with you guys. Or it's just random, like what we made for dinner. Like I shared a grilled cheese the other night, and it's the most engagement I've had. Like we just are, everyone's like, oh my gosh, grilled cheese season. And everyone's like, I had grilled cheese for dinner tonight too. It's just so fun.
For hygiene wise, like social hygiene, if you will, are you saving all of your stories before you put text on it? Because sometimes I do think, oh my gosh, I should have saved that. Like that's better B-roll that I'm taking when I'm trying to take B-roll.
So I make the mistake of not remembering, but I try to remember to, especially when I know I'm about to go on a rant about something. And I'm like, this might make a good reel. And I forget. And then there's captions and, but yeah, I would, because you can just literally tap the down arrow and it saves right to your camera roll.
Like I loved your story just even last night, being real and honest about the highs and lows.
Yeah.
Business or personal.
Yeah. I do that every once in a while. And because I'll be honest, I'm like, if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to let you guys know because sorry, because I haven't answered DMs. I haven't, and I just want to make sure people know the reason I was MIA yesterday. It was just like one of those days.
Yeah.
And I think people just enjoy it because I think, they see, oh, Shannon's got a lot of followers and this and that. And I'm like, it's still running a business is freaking hard.
Right.
And everyone else in my field, I think, tries to make this look too easy. And it's not, even though I think it's easy because it's how my brain works. Yeah, it's like, it's not. It's just good to remind people every once in a while, like, we're just real humans behind these screens.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I think you do a really good job of that because you mix personal with like selling things, but very subtly. It's not in your face. And it's something that I want to strive to get to on Zibra, but I do have so much other things going on during the day, and like getting on stories is the last thing I want to do or think to do most of the time, or it's boring, or I've had a really bad day. I just got a call from a buyer with like bad news or something. But no, I think it's important we got to start somewhere.
And I love that you said that because my advice when people, and I do that a lot, I don't do it as much. And I was like, I need to bring this back. I used to do it in today's I Feel Seen news. And I would share just a silly reel that made me feel seen. And it's usually something really silly, like about my love of wine or coffee or Mexican food or something like that. I shared one the other day. It was like about like the friend who thinks everything is aesthetic, and the guy's like taking video of like the floor and the whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so me. So borrow from other creators. You're not stealing their content. You're helping them.
Right.
I mean, you're like giving them more views. So I'll do on days, especially on days that I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't shown up on stories. I'll be like, let me find something funny to share. And, or like a funny quote, or again, for you guys, it could be, featuring an artist or talking about color of the year, or, like random articles you guys can lean on and be like, hey, if you missed this article about blah, 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 check it out. I like to use the example of my most watched, engaged reply everything story last year was about a house on the market in Raleigh. That has nothing to do with me. But it was this insane house, and I made everyone guess what they thought it was because I almost threw up.
Oh, I love that.
Everyone played around and guessed, and then I shared it, and I shared the listing. It was the most taps on a link I got all year. I mean, ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, but it's so funny because then the realtors that follow me were all in on it, and then everyone else was like, "What the heck, Raleigh? Get off your high horse!" I mean, we were all just, it was just fun.
Yeah, that is fun. Okay, so what if you're in 200 view jail on Reels? Like our Reels, on stories. Our stories do not get views. And so it's so frustrating. And no matter what we do, pausing it, whatever, we'll get a slight bump, but then it'll go back down. So is there a trick to that, or do you just kind of have to commit and be consistent?
I think commit and be consistent, but yes, pausing and making sure it's like the stories go dark, like there's nothing around your logo, is a good way to just kind of give it a jump start. So that's why I make sure that first story feels personal and human. Like it's not, I don't sell. I mean, not to say you can't sell, but just like I make it like something fun to engage with as much as I can.
Okay.
Usually during the week, that's not fun, but during the weekends, like my story views are way up because I'm just taking people throughout like what we're doing, where we're at. So just try to make that first story. And that's why I usually add a sticker, a poll, something for them to engage with. Because then they feel, again, invited in and involved and belonging, like they belong.
Right.
And honestly, I mean, I don't know why this is, but still photos do best in stories. So that's why I usually try to start with, yeah. So like a still photo. And just, again, use that to help give them a chance to vote. Like I'll use like, all right, how was your weekend? Or what are you doing this weekend? Or sometimes I'll have them vote on what post they want to see. And that one always does well too. Things like that. Yeah.
Quick break to talk tools, because if you haven't heard yet, Zibra's edger brushes are officially available at Lowe's. They're designed to make clean lines faster, smoother, and way less frustrating, whether you're cutting in walls, trim, or detail areas. You can grab them at your local Lowe's or head to enjoyzebra.com, and don't forget to use code BANTER10 at checkout for 10% off. Edge smarter, paint smoother. How do you help creators build a content strategy that fits into their real life, not one that takes over it, especially when we're talking about burnout? Like, what do we do?
It's so hard. I mean, my main thing is like one of my clients, she's got 2 little ones, like 2 under 3, and she's got clients and all this stuff. So we just post 3 times a week. Like I always start with, how many times do you think you can post, and start there. Next is obviously, like we talked about, repurposing and recycling old content. And she's had so many reels go viral. I'm like, just share it again. Like no one cares. It's been 6 months since she shared that recipe. Like just put it out there. But I think that's the best thing, is just one, choosing how many times a week you post, and just, if you can do 3 to 4, you're still doing more than most, because a lot of people are doing a ton and then disappearing for a month or whatever. So I think she tries to do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then she's got the weekend and she'll unplug, and because content, I think, because a lot of people that burn out are the ones that were in the 2020 or 2019, 2020, like race, where everyone was going viral and everyone's creating so much content. It's so different. Like it's totally different. And same, another one of my clients was like, oh my gosh, I used to be able to throw up an infographic and it got, she's like, now it's like 2 likes. Like, I know, it's weird, but we have to retrain our brains and literally unlearn everything we learned during those times, where it's just not everything, because hooks and things like that, but it's just so different. It's just so much more human. And like I keep saying the word belonging, that it's just like, you just want to make sure they feel like even though you're an expert, you're part of their work, you're a friend. Knowing that those 3 reels you share a week, or those 4 reels, I mean, they'll circulate for months. So that usually takes, when I remind people that, I'm like, even my business partner took like 2 weeks off over Christmas, like disappeared from Instagram and gained like 800 followers because her content was still going for her. And I know some people get scared to take a break. I'm like, put it in your bio, say on sabbatical, be back, whatever. But yeah, I think the biggest thing with burnout is just almost adding it into your schedule. Like you put your workouts in your schedule, you put it in your schedule. I have a content creation hour every day. It's usually from 10 to 11, but I'm going to do it after the podcast, where I just take that hour to either edit the reel or like right after this, I'm going to shoot the reel, edit it, put it, it'll be in an hour, it'll be done. But yesterday's reel, I was exhausted from the weekend because we had traveled. And so yesterday's reel was a 5-second B-roll with text. So on those days where you know you're going to be tired, like lean on the 5-second B-roll. Other ways to help people reduce burnout is just have so much B-roll always, so that like you're never like, oh no, what do I put up? It's like you've got it in your phone already. So once a month I go shoot a bunch of B-roll, and I use the same B-roll all month. When I talk to cameras, I usually do only 1 or 2 a week because those are a little more exhausting. And then the carousels are almost always repurposed. So that's what I do. Or join the Reels Lab.
Yeah. So tell us about the Reels Lab. Tell us how you can help everyone feel way less stress on Instagram.
So I'm really bad at selling. I tell everyone, I'm like, I'm the worst salesperson of all time. But basically it's you get to borrow my brain every week. And I just go, hey, here's some cool reels I saw. Here's how to make it yours. And I have it by industry. And then there's a community space in there, so you can ask me questions. I can give you feedback. So it's just a way to get my eyes on your reels. And there's 2 live calls a month too, so you can submit your reels for feedback, and I'll tell you what to edit and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. I love it. It used to be like a one-on-one offer, and then I was like, I just want to help more people. So it's been a lot of fun. There's like 300 plus people in it now, and it's just been a blast.
No, it's been awesome. We have done it for the past 2 years, and it helps us every week. You get prompts, and like you can have some of your own ideas that you mix in. And then some weeks where you don't have time, you plug in Shannon prompts on B-roll and you got it. And it's by industry. So it's very specific. And the calls are super helpful every month. So would highly, highly recommend it. Do you want to just say your website really quick where they can find that?
Oh, I don't even know. Let me see.
I think
okay, here. It's shannonmckinstrie.com/reelslab.
Yeah.
But if you just go to my website, it's all there.
Yes,
I have a whole services page. But yeah, the Reels Lab is definitely the place to be if you are just like, I don't want to think, and you're just sick of scrolling and saving things that never get put up.
And she also gives you audios, which is huge.
Yes.
Okay, it's time for a quick last segment, our favorite parts of the show, the golden moment. This is where we ask our guests to share something that felt golden recently, not something perfect or polished, but just meaningful. So do you have a golden moment from this week or last week?
Yesterday. So yesterday was a rough day, but because I have the business I do, I was able to unplug. I was able to outsource. I was able to calm down. And back before we had these businesses, I'd be stuck in a workplace, like miserable and crying. And, now I'm able to be like, gotta move this. I'm going to go take a minute. So I think that freedom of that social media has honestly given us, that we can have content supporting people while we might need a moment to just take for ourselves.
No, and it's something that I think a lot of times you can take for granted how flexible you can be. I definitely take that for granted sometimes, but it is so nice.
Yeah, when you realize that like the problems that you have are the ones that you like hoped for almost, because it's like of the business that you built. And so that perspective shift sometimes even helps. But it is okay to have it all or seemingly online and then like have a bad day and be honest about that. Like I actually really appreciated watching your stories last night and hearing that wasn't the best, because I was like, yes, like making it real just feels like I can approach this business too in a well-rounded way.
Oh, that means a lot. No, and it's funny because I almost didn't share it because I was like, oh, is this getting, are people going to be like, what's going on? I'm like, it's not even that deep. It's just hard, and Christmas was crazy. The holidays were crazy, and just everything piles up, and you look at the to-do list and you're like, I don't want to disappoint anyone. So those moments, that's why it's like one of those things where it's like, do I share this? And then you share it and you hear it resonated. So it's like so many of us hold back on saying things online. And then once you do it, you're like, oh, so, even if it helps one person, I'm like, I'll share it.
Well, thank you so much for being here and joining us, Shannon, and for sharing all of your wonderful tips. I know that we have some that we're going to take back to the Zibra account right now. So that's awesome. It was so great to talk to you again. And if you want to just share one more time your website and your Instagram so everyone can know where to follow you, definitely go check out Shannon because she will help you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, my handle's the same everywhere, just Shannon McKinstrie. Instagram, TikTok. I love LinkedIn too. I'm a nerd. Um, Not really on Facebook. Facebook stresses me out. But if you really want to get in touch with me, Instagram is probably the best spot.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This was so fun. I could yap all day with y'all.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. We'll be back soon with more Brush and Banter. Until then, keep creating with intention and don't cry over spilled paint.
Thank you for listening to the Brush and Banter podcast, brought to you by Zibra. We're so grateful you're a part of the creative community. Gearing up for your next project? Head to enjoyzebra.com to grab your new favorite brushes, designed for comfort, precision, and serious creative flow. Be sure to follow Zibra Painting on Instagram for painting tips, artist features, and more. If you enjoyed our banter, subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review. Now, go make something beautiful. We'll be here when you need a little banter.